Welcome back to another explainer. Today we're diving into something super intense, incredibly primal, and, well, deeply rooted in our human biology. We're talking about how to survive a worst-case physical altercation. Look, imagine you're caught right in the middle of a really serious situation. You're surrounded, you're outnumbered, and you just know, deep down, that if even two of these guys land a solid hit on you, you are not getting back up. It's an absolutely terrifying scenario, right? But what if your body could just kind of refuse to feel the impact? Let's unpack this survival guide, pulling straight from some fascinating psychological and biological analysis to figure out exactly how you can basically hack your own reflexes in a crisis.
Okay, let's dive into this. Imagine for a second, what if you couldn't feel any pain while surrounded in a fight? Now, for those of you who read or watch Lookism, you probably know exactly where I'm going with this. Think about the character Ollie Man. Ollie had what you might call a God-gifted curse, this nerve disease that made him completely impervious to pain. No matter how much damage he took, he literally just didn't feel it unless he was on the absolute brink of death. And crazy enough, real-life conditions actually exist where nerve receptors are damaged from birth, doing exactly this. So picture having that same painless ability when you're outnumbered on the street. Sounds like a literal superpower, doesn't it? Well, according to the science, you actually have a built-in biological cheat code that gets you surprisingly close to that superpower.
And here is that cheat code: adrenaline. When you are suddenly thrust into a highly serious, threatening situation, this hormone absolutely floods your system. It instantly triggers your fight and flight mode. And this isn't some conscious decision you make, it's a primal switch flipping in your brain. Your body basically forces you in one of two directions. You either charge right in and engage, or you turn and sprint the other way. But sometimes your environment traps you, right? Sometimes adrenaline locks you into a spot where running just isn't an immediate option, and you are literally forced to fight. When that happens, you have to stay conscious and manually activate some very specific physical tools to survive.
So, the crucial point is, Section 1, the fight, surviving the impact and striking back.
This brings us to what we call the rock position. Think about when you hit the gym. Whenever you flex your chest, your back, or your biceps, you're tightening that muscle, right? Making it super stiff and defined. Well, the rock position takes that exact concept and applies it to your entire body all at once. When you see an opponent about to land a hit, you consciously stiffen every single muscle in your body. By literally turning yourself into a rock, you massively decrease the actual physical impact of that blow. But more importantly, and this is key, when they throw that punch, they inevitably pause for a split second. This rock position buys you a crucial time gap, a tiny window that you can use to strike back.
And how do you actually strike back? You use something called the power shift. Now, okay, I know you aren't an anime character, but we've all seen those epic scenes where a character channels all their energy into one single body part right before unleashing this devastating punch or kick. The power shift works exactly like that. Try this with me right now while you're listening. Stand up and get into that stiff rock position we just talked about, okay? Got it? Then suddenly loosen your entire body, channel all that tightness and energy into just one part, say your fist or your leg, and throw a strike in the air. When your mind stops overthinking and lets pure adrenaline dictate the movement, focusing all your power into one localized point yields some absolutely massive results. You end up delivering double or maybe even triple the damage. It is honestly an incredible way to handle a 1 versus 2, 3, or 4 situation.
All right, let's switch gears. Section 2, the flight, the ultimate reality check.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what I mean. Anime heroes like Goku, Vegeta, or Guts, yeah, they can dive headfirst into massive crowds of enemies and completely tear them apart. But you are a normal human being with very real physical limits. If you're surrounded by a group and every single one of them lands even just one little slap on you, you're going down. Period. Unless you are a highly trained martial artist, which, let's be real, is a completely different scenario, trying to play the hero against 10 or 12 people is going to end very badly for you. You know exactly what kind of condition you'd be left in.
Which brings us to the second, and honestly way more important function of adrenaline: flight. Adrenaline isn't just this cool combat enhancer. It is fundamentally an escape mechanism. Think about how your body reacts when a pack of stray dogs suddenly chases you down the street. Adrenaline gives you this massive rush, basically turning your legs into pure reflex speed. Your legs just carry you away as fast as physically possible without you even thinking about it. In a group fight scenario, this is exactly the biological response you need to manually trigger. Your primary goal? Channel that adrenaline straight to your legs and get out of there. Why? Because someone is waiting for you at home. Making it back home safely is always, hands down, your #1 priority.
It really all comes down to this core philosophy. Running away is not cowardice. It's called self-defense. We literally have to completely rewire our egos here. Forget about looking tough. Forget about being the lone hero. Escaping a 1 versus 10 situation isn't cowardly at all. It is the absolute ultimate victory. Surviving to see tomorrow, that is the true definition of winning the fight.
Moving on is Section 3, Mindset and Confidence, the final psychological tool.
Now look, sometimes, despite your absolute best efforts, running is just unequivocally impossible. You are cornered, no way out. If you are forced to stand your ground, this whole thing becomes all about your mindset. You need to quickly evaluate your opponents. If you've built up a strong physique and you realize, just by looking at them, that you could easily beat any of them in a strict one-on-one scenario, hold on to that thought. Let it really sink into your mind. Realizing that your body holds the power to defeat them individually builds this immense psychological confidence. It basically removes the fear of the group. Even though it looks like a terrifying 1 versus 4, your brain knows you actually have the physical capability to handle the individuals. And that confidence? That allows you to fight without the paralyzing grip of fear holding you back.
Let's move to a Sonji and see how this builds a complete survival system. First, you've got the rock position to absorb incoming damage and buy yourself some time. Second, the power shift to focus all your energy and strike back with double the damage. Third, the conscious decision to run, prioritizing your actual survival above everything else. And finally, the confidence and mindset to stand your ground without fear if your escape route is totally blocked. When you combine these 4 tools at the exact right time, your body becomes psychologically painless. You bypass the panic, and you execute a calculated survival routine. But remember, the absolute first priority every single time is running.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. The biology is already inside you. The tools are right there, but the choice is ultimately yours. Next time that massive wave of adrenaline hits and the threat is very, very real, what are you going to choose? Are you going to let ego trap you into a fight, or will you use your biological cheat code to secure your flight and make it back home? Reflect on your reflexes, stay safe out there, and I will see you all in the next explainer.